Attention, all curious minds, innovators, and trendsetters. It's time to pause, lean in, and get ready for an extraordinary journey as we dive deep into the fascinating realms of life, technology, entertainment, and business. Let's explore, learn, and grow together. Brace yourselves, for the next thrilling episodes of HIPTHER Talks is about to take off. Counting down from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here we go.
Here we're back again this week with HIPTHER Talks, and this time we have a special guest from Endorphina, our good friends from the Czech Republic, and we have Andrey Oleshko, product owner at Endorphina, joining us today. Hi, Andrey. Nice to have you here.
Hi, Zoltan. Nice to meet you as well. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me today.
It's our pleasure and honor to have you, and of course we are keeping the tradition of having our guests say a few words about themselves before we get started with the podcast. So, Andrey, could you give a short introduction of yourself?
Sure. So, my name is Andrey. I'm working as product owner here at Endorphina for almost 3 years. Basically, my job is to make sure the product is working well, that everyone understands what do we have as our product, and all the features our product have, and all the games we have, all the stuff, basically.
All right. So you've been with Endorphina for 3 years, and Endorphina has been around for 13 years, something like that?
So, in general, no, I'm working as a product owner for 3 years almost, but I've been with the company for almost 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of stuff. We grow together. When I joined the company, there were only like 30 people maybe. Now it's more than 200, almost 300, I believe already. So yeah, a lot of things changed since I joined. I joined the team as an API integration manager. So basically I was responsible mostly for technical stuff here, right? So I basically learned the product from the beginning. So like from the scratch, like how to do integrations, what do we have, as integration is directly connected to the games, basically to the product you have, to bonus systems, to features and all the stuff. So it was very, very useful at the beginning. And the company itself on the market, I believe we can say around 14 years. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's amazing how time passes by. I remember 2016, our first conference in Budapest. It was Jan, Anastasia, and Jakub.
Yeah.
Lot of time has gone by since then. So could you maybe like point out what was the a defining moment that truly shaped the studio's identity? Because everybody heard of the Endorphina. It was a great name of the company, but I think it's about 6-7 years since they started really standing out from the crowd.
Yeah. Well, we always been strong in classical games, let's say. So we will talk about it later, but in general, we are knowledgeable in how to make a good slot game, especially classic ones with like classic system without any like additional mechanics, that just like plain slot game. And I believe the moment we became kind of famous was when we launched Minotauros, one of our like signature games, where it's very distinctive mechanic, right? So when you are basically want to not win as much as possible during the bonus game until you win something big. And it was quite defining at the moment, I believe. Also, another great part was when we started going to expos and we started to having our booth there. I believe our booths are always stand out everywhere on any expo, even though they are not the biggest ones, but we have like a lot of different like awards. I don't know how to put it that other way, like different awards for our booth, and people just started to recognize us by our booth. Our they're connected to something we are preparing to launch. Not all the time, but usually. So I believe this was two like defining moments.
All right, shout out to the marketing team then.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, yes, Endorphina has always been strong on classic slots. Yet your newer releases are very mechanic rich, right? So how do you balance this tradition with innovation? Because probably players are demanding new mechanics, but also sometimes want to play a classic slot. So how do you keep up with trends?
Well, so first of all, we do not look at our audience as at like one thing, right? Like not something where each person, each player that plays our games are the same. They're not the same. There are different groups of people who prefer different mechanics and different games in general. And we started as like slot game provider for the players mostly that prefer classical games, like the ones they seen in real, like on basically in land casinos, right? But we cover this audience very well, from my opinion, and our games really stand out there. But recently we trying to cover also a different audience, the audience that demands something more complicated, let's say, something more interesting on the other hand, from my point of view at least, that that audience probably was like never in real casino, right? Maybe they like will never go there ever, but in online they are playing like often, and because in online casinos you can produce slots much faster than like in land-based casinos, and you can experiment a lot. Now we're trying to experiment as well and create slots where there are at least like 3 different bonus mechanics, or maybe it's one mechanic, like general mechanic, but it has like 3 different options. In our latest games, like Burning Coins 40, for example, we have like, there is different combinations. So there is up to 7 different mechanics of the main one, right? So it makes games a little bit more complicated, and we hope it's interesting for a lot of players, like especially for players who prefer to play on online casinos only. So
makes sense.
The balance thing is, it's not like too hard because we can produce different types of games. We are not limited to like only one way of producing the game, but I think we are just trying to mix them up, like to not forget the core audience that we had for years.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. But I was in the meantime checking out some of the releases you guys had, and it's interesting to see different regions have different needs and different player behavior and different favorite games. But can you maybe point out which titles have delivered this like a strong global performance, and maybe you could say about what makes them travel well across these markets?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right about different needs for different markets. Some of the titles can perform well everywhere, to be honest. Like we have, for example, Crown Coins game. It's been launched a year and a half ago or around it. It's just a simple 3x3 slot, but it has great hold and win mechanic that are just collecting money from it, and it can collect it like almost like indefinitely, right? But the thing is, for some markets, for example, for LATAM or for Asian markets, those games usually do not work. I mean, they can work, but not as well as for example, for European market, right? Or for, I don't know, for any other market, basically. So the main thing is, you have to take in account what audience on which market love and what do they prefer. And you have to understand basically the regional differences between them, right? So, for example, Latam and I don't know, like Asian markets, some of them are quite similar. Probably it's because in Brazil, for example, I'm not sure if you know or don't, there are a lot of people from Japan, from China. There is a lot of guys from Latam. That's just like historically been like this. So, and because of it, there are some games, like one of the most popular games, not from us, but from other provider, let's say it's like Fortune Tiger, right? From PGSoft, for example. And PGSoft is the provider that comes completely from Asia. They are like Asian made provider 100%. And their game is very popular in Brazil. I can like speak about it freely because it's not a secret, right? Like everyone knows it like in industry. So, that's the thing. You have to understand like the difference between like cultures, between like regional, needs and like what is loved in each region. So then you can make a game that probably will be popular everywhere. But again, you have to take in account. So sometimes you're making a game specifically for some market.
Okay, so are these expectations between these European, Asian, Latin American, African players focus particularly on visuals, volatility, or bonus mechanics, or?
I would say it's 70% game mechanics and 30% visuals, something like this. Maybe 65 to 35. Because we have some examples. So, for example, 3x3 games are popular in Latam, and they are popular in Asia. But in European market, for example, especially in West Europe, 3x3 games are not so popular anymore. As players are going to be like more demanding, they do not want just to play simple games, like where you just have to like get 9 symbols and get huge win. They want to have some crazy mechanics, right? They want to get bonus game where you can have expanding wilds with like different multipliers. They want to understand how they can get their huge win during the bonus. So it's interesting for them like to get the bonus first. Because, for example, in African markets, there are games that are very popular even without any bonus mechanics. So they are just, they place a lot of small bets and they are not interested in buying bonus feature, for example. So they are not willing to pay for it, basically. So yeah, like mechanics depends a lot on the market you want to push the game. And for example, Latam currently is something in between, right? So it's very, like no one was counting on Latam in the past. Now everyone understands that the market is growing very fast. And I believe something similar will happen in Africa, like in 5, maybe 10 years, maybe even faster. I don't know, but like Africa is developing very fast. So, and the players' demands and player preferences, they will change as well with like growth of the market. So at least it's my opinion. Like maybe some people disagree with this, but I believe like the more market develops, the more demanding players become on this market.
Makes sense. And to stay at the topic at Latin America and Asia influence. So these Asian team slots are performing strongly in Latin America, as you said. And you also mentioned that the fast-growing regions like Brazil, South Africa, Africa being one of the highly accelerated one. What are the biggest product adjustments developers need to make when approaching such markets?
You can go one by one. So, for example, if we are talking about Africa, they prefer low volatility games where they can place a lot of bets. They usually spend not that much money on one spin, for example. Like average bet it depends on the country, of course, but in general, it's around like 10 euro cents in Africa, and it's even probably high. So they're playing a lot, but they're playing on smaller bets. So they prefer games with like low volatility, at least from our portfolio. I can speak for others, but I believe it's the same for a lot of them. And basically that's the main thing you should count for Africa. And they do not demand very like complicated games. They do not, at least for now, they do not want very like complicated bonus games or something like this. They prefer to just play simple, low volatile games. Maybe because the market is not developed yet. And of course, you have to count on internet speed in Africa. It's like one of the worst in the world, unfortunately, for now. It's getting better, but the game loading speed is crucial there. If you game loads for quite some time, no one will play your game, basically. So the weight of the game should be as low as possible there, like 100%. It's very important. If we are talking about Asian market, they love everything that has cultural connections with them. They like historical games about different Asian markets. I would not count only on like Chinese history or only like, I don't know, Korean history. They prefer like all of them can be like interesting if they are made properly. Asian players are very demanding in this field. Like if you are using like incorrect color, for example, in a game, no one will play this game. Like they are, like seriously, they are very serious about this stuff. So they will not play in your game if you're just trying to copy something like as you perceive it. They want you should be in context with like Asian stuff, like a lot. And sometimes it's quite demanding, to be honest. This is basically why, for example, let's talk about Pragmatic for a moment, right? Everyone knows that they're number one right now in a lot of markets, but not in Asian. At least they have maybe currently they are already, but I think they are very strong competitors from Asia, and Pragmatic has hard times competing with them, I believe, because they are guys from like Australia, right? Originally. So I think they have hard times in Asia because they are very strong competitors who know how to do the game basically for Asian market. And if you're talking about LATAM, it's a fusion of everything, just as like fusion restaurant basically. They have some games are very popular there that are not coming from like Asian market, like Fortune Tiger that is like from Asian market, but they have different games, right? So Pragmatic is strong there as well, and like some of our classical games are getting strong there as well, for example. So it's like fusion, really. Like, and also if we are talking about LATAM, we have to understand that LATAM is not one country, right? It's a lot. Like preferences of players from Peru, for example, are very different from what players from Brazil want. So those two are quite different, to be honest. Like, so there are some differences as well.
All right, makes sense. And let's also talk about the retention mechanics, because that's also something like a very important part of slots design. So these persistent mechanics and some layered bonuses seem central to the Endorphina roadmap, right?
True.
Are these retention-driven features now more important than pure acquisition appeal? So one thing is to get the attention of a player, to like jump on and play a game, but the other part is to make him stay there, not jump to the next slots game, which there are tens of thousands of games out there.
Yes. I have some data from last year. Last year, there were around 100 games launched every week, 100 slot games from different providers. I believe now it's probably even more. So that's why we basically started doing this like 3-pile slots, where you can get a bonus randomly. It doesn't depend on getting any bonus symbols, nothing. You are just playing. You see the pile is growing, right? So, and basically, this is a great kind of retention tool. It's not like a separate tool, but it's like tool inside the game, right? That we checked average amount of spins in those games in comparison to games without any pile feature. And it's around like 3 to 5 times more. So players are playing in these games for 5 times longer, basically, at maximum, but still. So this feature is crucial for the future, I believe. And I think a lot of people will start doing them soon. Some of them like already doing them. And this feature is like works really well for us. And we hope it will continue to do so. Also, as we already talked about it previously today, that all the bonus mechanics that you are trying to achieve is basically what makes player to stick to the game for longer. So if they want to see the bonus mechanic and the game looks vibrant, right, bright, like interesting for a player, the theme is been chosen properly, they will stick to the game for the longer. We have some separated tools for retention as well. So, for example, tournaments, like where you have to compete with other players based on different algorithms, for example, on total win, right? So the player who wins more, they're being placed at the top of the ladder, basically, and they are getting some real wins, like real money, free spins, some like iPhones, I don't know, you name it, PlayStations, whatever, some real prizes, right? So they're competing with each other. Basically, nothing changes for them. They're just playing the game. RTP obviously stays the same. So they're playing the game. They're getting their points. And if they play like a lot or they're getting lucky, so they win more, they're basically taking the prizes. So those tools are showing great performance as well lately.
Makes sense. You also have a bonus buy, cascade, hold and win on all of the games. And how do you differentiate without overwhelming players having all these options?
So as I mentioned earlier, it's directly connected to the audience you are trying to reach, to be honest. Some players think that if you put in game everything like hold and win, bonus pop, free spins, this will be the greatest game of all time. It's not. Surprise, surprise. So the thing is, for example, we are now trying to create like great pile slots, right? Where you have this mechanics that like some pile is growing until you get the bonus, right? And including bonus pop inside like buy-in bonus, right? For those who don't know. Include bonus pop in such games is not really a great idea because it will not work out all the time sometimes. So you are basically, those two features are contradicting with each other. And actually the games with bonus pop, they are targeting a little bit different audience than the games where we have 3 piles. At least from my opinion, those two audiences are a little bit different. So we are basically choosing which feature we will add based on the mechanics and mathematics of the game we are using. So, for example, if it's a game with, for example, high volatility game where you have rare but high wins, and we know that there are some great bonus game mechanics, for example, we include bonus pop there. So player can always just pay, get the bonus, and win or lose some money, right? In games with lower volatility, but with this pile features, we probably will not include bonus pop. Like in 90%, we will not do this because the game will not be very interesting in this way. It will not attract you. You will not play this game yourself. It will be kind of boring for you. So basically, we are choosing the different bonuses depending on the type of game we are trying to develop.
All right, makes sense. What about mobile and performance? Because you mentioned also Africa has a bad internet connection, but how critical are these mobile-first design and ultra-fast load times, especially with markets in slower internet infrastructure? But not to mention that it's sometimes even the good infrastructure with internet that some countries have sometimes do have some lag.
Yes. So first of all, a couple of months ago, I checked the statistics. 95% of all sessions are mobile. So it's safe to say you can easily skip desktop version and just create mobile version. No one will notice almost but yeah, we do desktop version still, but mobiles are number one priority, basically. Everyone plays on the mobile. There is a difference in session length between desktop and mobile. Mobile sessions are shorter, but players who play on mobile are logging into the game more often. So there is more sessions, but they are shorter for say a month, right? Players who prefer to play on desktop, their session length is longer, quite much longer. But they have less sessions for the month. So they are logging in at some time. They're playing for, let's say, 5 to 6 hours, and then they move forward, right? So speaking of loading times is very important thing because, as I said, in Africa, for example, is crucial. In Europe, it's probably a little bit less crucial in terms of, for example, there is good internet everywhere, right? And people here can wait for 5 seconds, right? 5-6 seconds, they can wait. It's up to them. If you have to count also how willing is a player to play your game. So you have to count this thing as well. So in Africa, for example, people wait for 30 seconds, and it's it happens with some brands. So not us, luckily. So yeah, loading times are crucial. That's why, for example, all of the instant win games or crash games, their load time is around 1 second because it's very simple. It's fast loading, fast gameplay. Everything is fast. Slots, on the other hand, is a little bit different thing. So you have to load some pictures, some animations. All the stuff should be loaded. So it takes more time, but the game process is different as well. So yeah, it's very important. It's one of the most important things, especially in the countries with bad internet. Here in Europe, you can make your games a little bit larger. People will download it anyway. The loading time will be fast. And also devices, right? So devices in African countries are much, much more cheaper, much more weak. Games can be lagging there. There can be different bugs in games. There are another layer of issues there as well. So you will never face it in other countries, right? So yeah.
All right. So how has players' behavior changed in the past decade? Let's talk about maybe are they attracted to more volatility driven, or
Mhm.
are they chasing bigger bonuses rather than steady base gameplay? What
Mhm.
did you notice?
Again, as I said at the beginning, depends on region we are talking about. So if we are talking about like more developed markets, I believe players there demand more complicated games. But again, not all of the players. Some people like play slots for like 20 years, right? And they started in casinos. Now they are playing online, for example. They want to stick to the simpler games. They prefer games where they understand immediately like what they should do, what they should have to win big, right? But I believe younger audience that grew up on like console games or PC games, right? That know like different mechanics. They demand a little bit more challenging gameplay, I believe. This is very subjective, and I know there are people who will not agree with me on this, but it's just like my point of view that there are some audiences that demand more complicated bonus systems and the systems where a lot of things happening. So, and I believe a lot of audience will become like this part of audience will grow more and more. So in some point of time, people like this will be more than people who prefer simple gameplay.
Exactly.
So I believe that's where we all are going.
All right. It makes total sense. And what about these creative boundaries? And are there any themes or directions you are consciously avoiding? And even if they generate a short-term success, I know there was a case some years ago with some somebody from India reached out to us about a certain game. But are there any teams you are avoiding?
To be honest, like, of course we do, like, but those teams are being avoidable by everyone almost, right? Even like if you are talking about some brave guys like No Limit, right? They are trying to explore some themes that are, let's say, not being explored by other providers, right? They explore them. It's quite all right, but even they are not touching some themes directly. So we prefer not to touch religious things that can offend someone, right? It's like number one rule. In general, we are trying not to offend anyone. If the theme is around, like we have a game Taboo, right? It's maybe a little bit on the edge, but we are fine with it. Like we don't think it's offending anyone, right? So the main things we are trying to avoid is political, religious, and such things, like obviously wars, obviously like such things that are, well, basically we are thinking what we would play ourselves, right? Would you play a game where it's offend someone? Obviously, probably not. So just like common sense, basically. So do not touch some sensitive themes, you'll be okay. And even though success of the game, to be honest, it's rarely based only on the theme of the game or something like this. Even, for example, a lot of guys are trying to make games based on memes, right? Like, so, for example, there are some memes and they're making games. I never seen a successful game like this because meme has very short period of life. Like meme is here today, tomorrow it's already dead, and everyone can like thinks it was like stupid and not funny anymore, right? But game creation takes time, and like you are developing the games that will be dead on arrival, basically. So what's the point then? So it's I don't know, like use your common sense, like, and do what you think will be best.
Makes sense. So as a closing question, I'm also interested about if you had to define Endorphina's next phase in just one sentence, what will what would it be for 2026 and maybe beyond?
Well, we have quite ambitious goals this year. I hope we will reach them. So basically, we are expanding in mechanics a lot, and we are going to create some very new games we never touched before, and we hope we will deliver good, as at least to say at least. So we are now focusing a little bit more on the games with interesting bonus mechanics, a lot of like potential wins, like big potential wins, and I hope we will grow in this development, like grow in this way. We will develop in this way a lot this year. So that's where we are going for our like internal stuff. If we are talking about general things, we will still be delivering like classical games, and they're just with adjusted like new cool mechanics that we hope our people will love.
Makes a lot of sense, and I'm really eager to hear more about it when we get to Prague in just
Sure.
a couple of days. And guys, and yeah, make sure to come by our conference. And of course, the Endorphina Club, the famous Endorphina Club in Prague, is now celebrating its I think it's 4th year now. So yeah,
4th year.
Yeah, we are looking forward to a great party there. So Andrey, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure, and thank you for our audience for joining us again. We will be back next week with more crazy stuff. Take good care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for this section of HIPTHER Talks. Thank you for being a part of our journey today. Don't forget to tune in next week for more insights and discussions. Stay connected with us on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and more. Until then, keep exploring and keep growing. We'll see you next time.